believe that we are live. We're ready to rock and roll.
All right, call the meeting to order. Welcome to the September 13th, 2023 meeting of the Human Resource and Compensation Committee. Calling the meeting to order. Has the meeting been properly posted?
Yes, it does.
All right, first up is opportunity for citizens to speak. Do we have anyone who would like to address? All right, I see we have no one waiting to address the committee and no correspondence, so we will move to the action items for approval. We do have 5 action items tonight. The first one is approval of the minutes from the August 9, 2023 HR and Compensation Committee meeting. Do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. McCaffrey, seconded by Ms. Koenig. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from the August 9, 2023 HR and Compensation Committee meeting. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion passes 5-0.
Abstain.
Sorry, 4-0. 4-0-1. All right, thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Next item is approval of all resignations and retirements. We have 10 resignations and 1 retirement for approval on the consent agenda and addendum. Do I have a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Kozlowski,
Second.
second by Mr. McCaffrey. So I have a move and a second that we approve the resignations and retirements as amended. Is there any discussion?
On some of these, it says effective date 6/9/23.
Correct, meaning they would have resigned prior to the start of the new contract.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion passes 5-0. All right, next item is approval of leaves of absence and leave modifications. There are no leaves for approval this evening, so we will move to approval of new contracts and contract modifications. We have 26 new or modified contracts on the consent agenda and addendum for approval this evening. Do I have a motion to approve as amended?
So moved. Second.
Have a move and a second that we approve the contracts and contract modifications as amended. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes 5-0. All right, next item is the approval recommended candidate for the position of assistant principal at West High School. So a confidential recommendation and resume was provided in board docs. So we've all seen that information. Do I have a motion? Mr. McCaffrey, move to approve. Second. Second by Mr. Kozlowski. So it's been moved and seconded that we approve the recommended candidate for the position of assistant principal at West High School. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion passes 5-0. All right, the next item on our agenda, take a little bit of time maybe, is the discussion item of the exit interview data. And Sharon Theda will provide some information on the exit interview data.
So I am just passing out some information right now that we can go through as it relates to the exit survey that we gave about 110, 120 total exiting, 42 participated in the survey. So of that, if we're looking at top 3 reasons for leaving, so that's something that we like to look at. 8 responded it was due to retirement, 6 a career change, and 4 other conflict within the district. So these were options that they could choose from. And then this year I added a secondary reason, which I haven't done before. So then the secondary reason, you can see 36 responded to that question. 6, the top 3, once again, 6 with better salary, 4 with retirement, and 3 with other conflict within the district to kind of round out top reasons for people leaving. Another question that we always like to get data on is regarding workload. When we work with our teacher groups, they often talk about workload, and we work to try to find ways to help balance that for our teachers. So that next graph that we're looking at is the question about how reasonable or unreasonable was the workload for the role. You can see that 48% said reasonable to be expected. And then we have the unreasonable, more than I expected, is 23%. And then we have another 23% saying extremely unreasonable. So workload coming in high there. And then I also provided, as we're looking at exit data, we're focusing on the number of people exiting the district, some percentages of turnover rate. Now, turnover rate can be calculated in lots of different ways. So what I have here, these are school year data. You can count teachers as head count, you can count them as FTE. So there's different ways to even calculate the number of people working here. Additionally, what month are you using for your cutoff month? So I just want to make that clear that this is not clean data. This is just a snapshot in time when this data was pulled. So you can see just the FTE and then the percentage turnover. So we've been averaging the past 3 years between 10%, 10.5, and now just over 11% total turnover, including retirement. I excluded retirement for another data point in case that's the way somebody wanted to look at it. And then we're coming in at 7%, 8.36%, and 8.59%. Again, once again, not clean data, but data that we grab a snapshot from our systems.
For the last 3 years.
For the last 3 years, correct. And then the other piece I would like to point out, just so you have a sense of where this falls within the area. Area districts, so kind of southeastern Wisconsin, turnover rate just for this 22-23 coming into this school year was between 4 and 16%. So wide variety, where the majority of the districts were falling between 7 and 11% of turnover. And we were sitting right at that 11.37 with that data. So that is just some information regarding the reasons for people leaving, workload, and overall turnover. So with this, I wanted to point out that teacher retention in general is a state and national issue. The national conferences are really focusing on it. I went to national recruitment fairs. So it's definitely something that we're working on as a nation, as we're working to have people join the profession and then stay within the profession. So what we've been doing proactively, I think you all know, we had a job fair. So we were the end of the July and we still had some hard positions to fill. And so we decided to host a job fair, of which we had over 30 people get interviewed. And from the job fair, several were hired. Even I think 2 teachers and some assistants and substitutes came out of that job fair who are currently employed. So that was a success. Another proactive piece we're looking at to help with that retention and with that workload issue is putting some focus onto our mentor program. So we put more focus on that. We had another big training this summer, and I have over 175 trained mentors right now that are working with, well, they're not all necessarily assigned new staff, but are available to help with new staff. All teachers new to the district receive a mentor. And then if you're new to the profession, you have a mentor for 2 years. So everyone coming in has a mentor. And then we have some structured pieces in place with some expectations with that mentor program. So hopefully that will help people feel supported as they're joining. And then as I mentioned, workload. So we always are trying to streamline workload for teachers and principals. So just to highlight some work that I believe you all know has been done so far. T&L last year worked a lot to bring that structured curriculum and resources for teachers, so they felt like they had that and they weren't working so much in creating that curriculum and resources. This year we changed the elementary report card to align with secondary, so using quarters and semesters. And that helps streamline the way the elementary teachers are giving feedback to those parents instead of doing it on a trimester because they have to do it by standard. They're still going to host the conferences in the quarters, so the parents actually get one more touch point with teachers, but it's helping decrease workload. So we're hoping, so far that's gone over very positively. It hasn't, they haven't experienced it yet, but they were excited about that. And then that behavior committee got together and worked last year to brainstorm proactive strategies to support teachers and student behavior. And then we always are trying to streamline meetings that teachers go to, PLCs, to try to help balance their time and workload. So those are some pieces that we've been working on for workload. And then new staff days. So we had over 120 new staff members welcomed on our new teacher days. Some of you were here to welcome them as well, which was great. They get that time to learn. They get to learn some of the district language. They get time in their buildings. They get to see who else is newly hired and just build some camaraderie and excitement around coming to Waukesha and beginning their careers in general, or just beginning them in Waukesha. So those were successful. And then lastly, we received feedback. So we received feedback from our new hires. That's one of the KPIs for the HR committee regarding how helpful their mentor was. So we'll be getting that feedback mid-year for, again, helping us onboarding and transitioning new staff. And then also we will be doing a all-staff survey once again. So we get feedback from all of the staff and we can look at that and compare themes to see what we can do to just continue to grow and attract and retain employees. So that's what I have for you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add, I visited over at North the teacher workday on Wednesday for grades 6 through 12, and then I also visited on Thursday grades K-5 over at West. And I kind of circulated and just got a feel and talked to different teacher groups and asked how they felt the day was going. A lot of them, overwhelmingly, they said they really appreciated the time that they were given. They had some sit and get in the morning first day, but then what I witnessed were, pods of teachers planning, by grade level. It was great. And I could tell, and as I went over and talked to them, they were excited about the curriculum. Especially I happened to talk to the prospective group, the middle school. They were really excited about everything being there. They seemed really user-friendly. Just really good feedback about the math. Elementary also thought the math was great. They were really excited. Overall, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of relief, and they just enjoyed the time to be able to work together, before diving into the new curriculum, the new school year. So I felt really good walking out of there both days because I felt that there was a real positive energy, coming from the group. So I just want to mention that I think they appreciated that time.
Good. And that was a little bit of different structure this year. So that's
Yes.
great that you were able to get in there and get that feedback because they haven't necessarily worked grade level or content during those days. So that's great.
That's what they mentioned. And they really enjoyed that.
Good.
They were able to do that.
Scott.
How many open positions do we have right now?
Oh, I have too many screens open to tell you. I will say we're working on so many leads, less than 5.
7 a couple days ago.
Yeah, less than 5.
This is really good, and I want to talk about the numbers in a little bit of a different direction because taking a look at this, I believe our KPI for retention is to stay at 8% of turnover, correct?
Correct.
I take a look at in the overall big corporate setting when we're managing teams of large amounts, right? I've had a team of 78, I think was the highest I've done. And we take a look at performance review, getting a turnover percent, or better said, a retention that is 90+% of staff in the district of over 800 is a really good number. And despite a lot of the things that we hear in noise about a national issue, which is affecting every industry that there is, taking a look at 120 teachers who joined our district, knowingly coming here, excited to join and thrive and grow as a family with us, I think are really great signs that we should be highlighting. I will go on, further. There's pieces that people have a choice on where they want to work and where their passions are. And we have had some sad people leave our district for career opportunities that were really giving themselves and their family a better opportunity. And we are passionate about being excited for them, sad for them, but we want those that are in our district to be happy and excited and thrive and grow and really take care and love on our kids. And when I look at the information that you spent a lot of time doing, I'm very grateful for that because I think it tells a good story that overall we have a community that does enjoy the school district of Waukesha. excited to be here, and I think that's a really important piece to call out. The last question that I have was on the all staff feedback. The last time I believe that we gave that, we only got a turnout of about 40%, I thought.
Which in survey world is
Good.
good.
Okay. Just a consideration, right, as we talk about feedback and how can we do better. It's important that people take the time to share all of this, the good and the bad, and I think that we hear far more of maybe the negative. But obviously the data and the metrics are saying that we are retaining 90+% of our staff, and I'd love to get us to be at the 94, 95, 92, right? 92 would put us at KPI. And I think that the things that we're doing that you highlighted, we're gonna do all of those things to improve. I'm pretty impressed with a lot of the stuff that you highlighted. Thank you.
I have a couple comments and then a couple questions as well. So the all staff survey, when is that done?
So we did it in the spring 2 years ago, and we were slated to do it once again last spring and opted not to based on, quite frankly, timing, and we were moving buildings. And we changed formats. So if you recall, 2 years ago, we hired out with two, I don't remember the
School perceptions.
and so we switched, we have a contract survey ready to go. I streamlined it, we're trying to make it more succinct and pulling what we need to make it really user friendly for them to take the survey.
And that is self-created by the district, right? This is unlike the school perceptions where they created questions. They thought that we've been able to actually make that more in line with our district. Great,
Correct.
thank you.
So we'll get that this fall. I believe it's scheduled for next month.
Yeah, I will say that one of the things that I like to hear is the mentorship program. I think that's very important for especially new teachers. It's thing that I know that's very critical, especially when you are starting your career. A lot of new teachers typically leave the profession within 1 to 3 years because of the lack of mentorship and they don't have the support. So I think that going forward, I'm just looking forward to seeing that a lot of new teachers need that support from the mentorship program, but not only the new teachership district, the teachership profession. I think that was very exciting what you said, 2 years. I think we can take that amount of time too, not just 1 to 2 years, good 2 to 3, so that they can really get the hang of things and just start in their profession. And even those who return to the profession still need that mentorship, so I'm very happy.
Yeah, and I've heard you say that before, Mr. Moore, about the importance of mentorship, so I was glad to see that. It's a year for new to the district and then 2 for new to the profession. I'm curious, can teachers, if they have a mentor that maybe they're not connecting with, can they change that? Do they have the option?
They could, absolutely. We have instructional coaches in all the buildings who used to sort of double as a mentor because they are working and coaching. So what we've done is we've separated and you have a specific mentor. You still also have the instructional coach as well that is providing feedback and giving you observations. So if anyone was not comfortable with their mentor or the match, then I would certainly encourage them to seek their instructional coach or the principal so we can make a change.
That really, I mean, that happens, but not a lot. Like that really happens. I mean, the district definitely vets in all districts or all schools. You have to have somebody here teaching to be a mentor and somebody, be a track record of successful performance and successful performance. So.
Yeah, and I would think if you want that role, that you would be a good fit for that role too. I was just curious. One thing I wanted to clarify before I have one other question. On the pie chart here, which I know only we can see at this point, you mentioned the 48.7% of reasonable. Well, there was also 5% that said extremely reasonable. So it looked to me like 54% either reasonable, extremely reasonable, 46% unreasonable. So it's close. I mean, that might still be high, the 46%, but it was close to a split with a little bit more to reasonable, but pretty much 50-50. The other question I had is receiving feedback from new hires. How is that done?
That is done through a quick survey that they get mid-year. We do a new teacher celebration where we meet with them, board members are invited, and we just
we have dialogue with them, but then also they have this exit ticket where they're just giving us a few, just quick snapshots. How was your onboarding? If you could have had anything else the first 2 months, what would it have been? So we can continuously learn and grow to help strengthen that onboarding process so people are feeling like they're prepared and supported.
I just have a comment, I don't know really how to, not really a question, maybe there's a question and a comment and observation. So when I look at this pie chart, I'm kind of fascinated in a way that it is almost like you said, Mr. Broski, 50-50. So when I look at this, I feel that there are slightly over half of our teachers that left thought that the workload was extremely reasonable to reasonable. And then almost the other half is unreasonable to extremely. I guess my wondering mind wonders, I guess, how can there be such a different experience? That's my first wondering. Like, how can half of people think they're overworked and the other half think, no, it's okay? I would be very curious to look at the results and maybe subcategorize or figure out, is it a certain position that's unreasonable versus other positions that find it reasonable? Because to me, that would tell a lot, because who is feeling it's unreasonable? Is it, these teachers? Is it this staff? Who feels that it's unreasonable? And then who feels it's reasonable? Because I guess I'm just wondering how there can be such a varied experience. I'd be very curious to know, even breakdowns with schools, different staff within different buildings. How did that fare? Just because it would really help me understand how you can have such a different experience within this district and figure out those that felt, extremely unreasonable, reasonable, just maybe looking a little bit closer at their situation of where they left. So that's my curiosity.
Because both things can be true. Like, so we get different experiences, different schools. I've heard different stories of teachers in different schools. Some of them have less part time than the other ones. It's not, no one's, fault. It's just the nature of the situation. Some of them have paraprofessionals in the classroom help, some of them do not. So the situations could, both scenarios could be true. It's just, like you said, finding more information to help break that down. Because, it is an interesting dynamic on how both things can exist. But it does happen because of those situations that I just said.
And I thought another thing might be the grade level. That's another type of teacher, grade level school.
So,
That's why I'd like to be curious. I'm curious about breaking it down further so those differences can become more apparent. Like, that explains it. The more unreasonable we're coming from K-3 or 9-12. It would just give you a better idea of who finds the workload reasonable and who's just pulling their hair out, they can't do it. So.
And we do break down, because that's how we then look for trends. So it's for specifically, like, is it special educators? If so, what are we doing to support them? So to see if there are pockets of trends, nothing glaring, I'd say. And the other piece is that only 39 people answered that. So that's hard as well. And then I always say, you think of when you leave a review, I don't ever leave reviews, but if I ever did, it's because I either loved it so much, it inspired me, or I absolutely had them. So to me, that makes sense too, because they wanted to give the feedback because they were very pleased with their experience, or not, and want us to know what's going on.
Yeah, so the 39 is about a third of turnover, so it's I guess a decent amount, but not a like. Other comments or questions? Save any other comments I have for the board meeting. So, all right. Next item is just other business, any items that want. All right, so the next meeting will be, it's October 11th, which is the same night as the next board meeting. So look forward to seeing you then, and thank you all. Meeting adjourned. Some back in public.
Oh, you're very much ready.
You're telling me that.
Okay, WebEx.